Mutual aid is
utilities helping each other
when crews will go assist
some sort of a event
for storm events, major outages.
Responding to or sending out groups
where we give help
to help your neighbor.
We have mutual aid agreements with both municipalities and investor-owned utilities around the state of Texas. And then we're also part of a larger group with the APPA, the American Public Power Association, and that's really nationally. You can travel throughout the United States and places like Puerto Rico and assist public power utilities in restoring their power if they need the help.
Hurricane Harvey barreling into the Texas coastline as a Category 4 storm with 130-mile-an-hour winds.
This has the potential to be an epic, historic flood unlike any we've ever seen.
There's a real danger this storm is being underestimated.
That was a really interesting storm. That was quite a powerful storm that came in. Harvey, it didn't just come in and go out. I mean, it came in, hung around for a while, then made another loop.
It's any major thunderstorm that comes through town. I mean, we just end up crews working around the clock, swapping people over on shifts. Just 16 hours and then get your rest period, 16 hours, get your rest period.
We had a request from the mutual aid group to provide assistance, but we were dealing with our own restoration, so we want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers here at home before we send resources off.
We worked for 4 days in the pouring rain. No matter what kind of clothes you put on, you were wet, and just wet. And all your vehicles were wet inside, and all your paperwork was wet, and all your computers were wet.
Austin Energy committed some resources we sent down to the area to get their customers back in service.
We had actually put together a group of 30 employees that were ready to respond to the Gulf Coast. So AEP was looking for resources, the Gulf Coast area was looking for resources.
By the time that we had responded to getting our stuff together, their needs had already been met down in Houston. So it's like, okay, we don't need you guys, let's go ahead and stand them down.
Within the week, I think it was, that Jacksonville Electric Authority, JEA, reached out for our assistance with Hurricane Irma.
This morning, Jacksonville is seeing the worst flooding in nearly a century.
I want you to take a look at some of the debris that we're seeing on the ground. Things are starting to fly around in the air. Signs are breaking off.
But the storm surge is historic for the Jacksonville area as a whole.
Okay, phonetically that's H-I, that's how storms are named. So this was literally the next storm to come.
What was unique about that was the whole state of Florida was going to be impacted by that hurricane. We started refocusing our efforts on providing assistance to Jacksonville Electric Authority in Florida.
I mean, if it's not grounded, it's not dead.
They want to know who wants to go.
And that's the way we're going to live, right?
They don't want to just ask somebody to go that doesn't want to be there. And I've always enjoyed going and helping out, and the interesting things that you see on a restoration trip. So I volunteered and made sure that they knew I wanted to go.
Traveling with 33 employees, and we've got 25 to 28 pieces of equipment. We run into all kinds of issues, right? The closer you get to where the impact is, you see the damage starting to increase, the trees and the power lines down. Flooding.
The National Guard is sending in deep water vehicles and boats to help with all the rescues.
It's just amazing to see how Mother Nature, when in all its fury, can unleash on something. I've seen trees fell through houses. Some of these places can be untouched parts in the middle of all this destruction, just a little oasis. It's a new world. You meet all the new people that are going to line you out. You find out what type of materials, what type of areas you're going to be working in. They don't know the scope of what you know, so they're feeling you out with little projects and trying to see what they have in you.
And I think after about the second day that we were there, they pretty much cut our crews loose. That told me that as a requesting utility, they looked at our crews and saw how they worked and how they functioned and said, we're able to turn these guys loose like they're our own crews.
Our crews have always worked really safe. We communicate a lot and we're very effective. You cover yourself first. Without our health, it doesn't do any good to get the lights back on for them. If we're falling down and getting hurt, it's not a good trip.
You have a safety debriefing with the host utility, which helps give you a good baseline of what to expect when you get out there working. Once you get into Austin Energy and the crews, then you'll have secondary safety briefings with just the crew themselves. We follow all of our safety rules like we're back at home, and you just come together as a group.
When you're working the long days like that and you're working hard in the heat, you need that adrenaline going, you need that inspiration from the people out there, you need that to push you through 16, 18 hours in a day. because you're done at the end of the day. You've given it all you could. It's really rewarding. It's satisfying at the end of the day. You know that what you did was, you know, if you get 5 customers on, you had to work all day, or if you get 500 customers, it's the same reward. You did the best you could in a day, in a time period that they gave you, and you got what needed to be done.
Once we were back home and established, there had already been talks about the potential of helping out, you know, with Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico.
Powerful Hurricane Maria making landfall right now on Puerto Rico as a Cat 4 storm.
It just didn't stop. It just kept going and going. You're like sitting there going, when is this going to end?
The winds are ferocious right now, gusting above 120 miles per hour, severing the tops of the palm trees.
Hurricane Maria was a different type of storm for us. That was when the APPA got really involved down in Puerto Rico. And they started setting up these incident management teams for all the different regions of Puerto Rico.
Started having conversations with people that I work with, my peers, knowing that it was going to increase their workload and kind of pick up the slack. But that's the great thing about it, is it's not just the people who travel and provide support, it's those who stay back and take care of business and keep the core business running while we're gone.
My hat's off to those guys, because they went in December, meaning that they were going to spend Christmas and New Year's away from their families. That was pretty impressive and pretty awesome of those guys to go down and volunteer for that first wave.
We were away from our families for Christmas, and we didn't get to open presents with our family, but for a lot of the families there, they didn't have Christmas. They had no lights, no Christmas trees, no presents, and so you had to put that in your mind whenever you're making these decisions, how you're going to support someone and how you're going to give them everything you got to make sure that they can restore their life back to normal. We went into a utility who was struggling with the resources they had on hand to restore power. Walking into their storeroom and seeing a bunch of empty shelves, walking into an office space, seeing tables that were put on the side of the walls, and having to essentially start from scratch. You take for granted everything you have here.
No, it was my first one. It was pretty cool. Going to Puerto Rico, of course, you know, a long way from home, and my wife was a little apprehensive about me going, but she was fine with it, and it was a good experience. Different country, never been in a rainforest in my life before, you know, and that's the side we worked. That was another thing. I mean, they worked in some of the most difficult terrain.
Safety plays into everything that you do. It's not just the field operations. It's how you communicate. It's what you're committed to. If you take the time and you're committed, and you physically and you mentally commit to doing things safely, you can incorporate it in every function.
Honor and integrity is something you do when nobody's watching, right? So we were all in the mountains. All the work we did was in the mountains. There was no one out there. We come up on the job and everybody has their PPE on. They're always working between grounds. They're doing everything correctly. And they're a long way from home. You have a great chance of doing things you don't normally do when you're not there, but they did everything correct. An unsurmountable amount of hours, probably over 500 working hours in a month. What was so wonderful was they did the whole job, and I do not remember a single accident or an injury through all those crews. There's over 250 crew members. They did a great job. They took it from, I believe, 68% to 92% of lights back on in that third wave.
Those are the ones that really executed the plan. You know, we kind of created it and they executed it, and that's teamwork at its best. Over the 4-month period, Austin Energy deployed 16 individuals, and they, on average, they stayed 30 days.
It was just unbelievable, the type of feedback that Jackie, myself, and Elena received. So hats off to all of you. I'm very, very proud.
I've never worked with anywhere that they put safety at such a high level of priority, and it's genuine. It's not artificial. That's what I really like about it.
As a department of the City of Austin, our first and foremost, we're here to take care of the citizens here, you know, within the City of Austin. But then we're bigger than that. Providing mutual aid, being able to help those residents and those citizens of other utilities, especially the public power, you know, utilities. We're going to be there to assist them, and it says a lot.
I'm honored to have worked with the people that while I was there, and to continue to work with Austin Energy people that were deployed over there, because they're committed to doing a great job, and it showed over there for sure.
I love it. I've been in line work for 25 years, And I've been on multiple storms, enjoyed every one of them. It's tough, it's hard, it's rewarding.
Anytime you can assist any other lineman doing work, I mean, what we do is get lights back on. You know, that's all you know. It's after years and years of it, it's bred into you. You get the lights back on. So anywhere you can go do it, anywhere you can go help someone, yeah, you go.